Any questions for us? Are you a little nervous?
Yeah. You're gonna do great.
Don't be, it's totally fine.
Do great.
I need you to sign about a 102-page waiver,
Okay.
so that'll be good.
Yeah. Initial sign. It's all good.
Are you ready, my dear?
Yes.
All right.
All right.
I just want to make sure I have the framing good so everybody can be seen. Everybody can be seen. Lovely. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome once again to Anything Academy. This is Laura's Top 20, number 13.
13.
Okay. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
And, as always, for those of you that are pretty observant, we have a guest.
Yay! This is my friend Lisa.
Say hi, Lisa.
Hi.
She's a little nervous, and it's fun. Show's gonna do great. So, Laura, what is this movie that we're talking about
The
today?
movie, my number 13 favorite movie, is Arsenic and Old Lace. And it is also one of Lisa's favorite movies, which is why she's here to chat with us about it.
All right, some quick facts about Arsenic and Old Lace, and then off you go. Arsenic and Old Lace was directed by Frank Capra. The screenplay was by Julius J. Epstein and Philip G. Epstein. It's based on Joseph Kesselring's 1941 play of the same name. Stars Cary Grant, Raymond Massey, Jack Carson, Priscilla Lane, Peter Lorre, Edward Everett Horton, James Gleason, Josephine Hull, Jean Adair, and John Alexander. I tried to see if it was nominated for anything. I couldn't find anything, so I'm assuming it wasn't.
I think one of the aunts, the main aunt, was nominated for Best Supporting Actress, I
Okay.
believe, but I'm not 100% sure of that.
Okay, I'm done. Go.
All right, Arsenic and Old Lace. So this is one of my favorite movies with Cary Grant in it, who is one of my favorite old film actors. So he is just phenomenal. This is an interesting little movie because it is very hard to categorize. Also, it is Frank Capra directed,
Yes,
and Frank
good.
Capra is one of my favorite directors. And you'll see his name as we keep creeping up the list. You'll see him at least once more, maybe twice. It's a little bit dark, but it is super funny. It's more comedy than romantic comedy, but there's certainly an element of romance. It's scarier than you would think it would be. And there is a happy ending for murderers. So, the bad murderers go to jail, and the good murderers go to Happy Dale Sanitarium. So you can tell very much that it is based on a play, because really there's just one setting. It's interesting in the film because they do have a beginning that's a little bit strange to get you into the plot. It's a lot about Brooklyn and Brooklyn Dodgers. It expands out to the marriage bureau, but then once you're in the living room, 90% of the action takes place in that setting. It's incredibly well written, well performed, well directed, gives sense of like the more contemporary noises off where lots of things are happening and there's action going on here, there's commentary going on there, and 100% Cary Grant's performance is everything. He just makes this movie. So that's just a little bit of framing around what the movie is and how hard it is to describe or categorize. I've got lots of things to talk about specifically, but Lisa, I want to turn to you, and why is it one of your favorite movies?
I think first and foremost, it's because it was one of the movies my mother and I watched together.
Mm-hmm.
And I have that memory that's always connected with it. But it was one of the first movies I watched that I laughed hysterically at.
Yeah.
And I think that always sticks with you,
Yes.
right? You never let go of that. And you're right, the Cary Grant in this, from the moment where he realizes what has happened, what his aunts have been doing, just pure gold for like 5 minutes after that and throughout the movie. But that first initial piece is just, there's nothing else like it in my opinion. So
It's funny that you mentioned about the emotional connection, because we have talked about a lot of these favorite movies, and I think mine especially are ones where I have a big emotional connection to them. Is they remind me of family. And
yeah.
and did your family watch a lot of old movies?
Yes, yeah. Another favorite of mine is Some Like It Hot. And
Oh,
yeah.
my mother and I squished into a chair together watching the whole movie that way and just laughing and laughing. But yeah, I think there and other movies for other reasons too, but I think for some reason comedy just sticks with me. I'm just a comedy movie gal.
That's very funny because this is one of probably the only pure comedies on my list, and it's not even really a comedy. I mean, it's a huge
Yes.
comedy, but it's got so many other elements to
Yes.
it. And then I want to kind of talk a little bit about each of the performances and the characters and supporting characters, but I also want to give Darryl a chance to talk about the fact that you have never seen this movie before.
I had never seen this movie before.
And your thoughts.
I didn't know the plot. I didn't know anything about it. And after all the initial setup, when you get the reveal for what essentially the movie is, I stopped and had to pause it for a second. I was like, did that is okay? Because that came out of left field
You
for
do not
me.
believe that those women are murderers.
No,
Yeah.
particularly because they set up the first 10 minutes about how sweet and nice and all these charities that they do. And it's not until like halfway through the movie when they have their soliloquy and their conversation with Cary Grant explaining why they're killing these people.
Yep.
But that initial like, oh no, we've killed like 12, is it 12, 13, how many, 11, 12? Like that and it's all just so sweet and innocent. And I was like, holy shit, okay, I'm now in for the ride. One thing I do want to say though is this movie was delayed for 3 years because the Arsenic and Old Lace was a play, and it was such a popular play that they wanted the popularity of the play to wane before they put the movie out. So it was delayed for 3 years.
That's very funny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, because it came out in '44, so that means that they must have filmed it much before that.
They
I
did.
didn't realize that.
I didn't either. When I was doing the research trying to find out these things, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and discovered that. And I was like, that even for then, that's an interesting thing to do, to delay a movie for so long.
Yep. I want to talk a little bit about Cary Grant, and I'd love to get your thoughts. I think, like I said, his performance is everything. He is dapper and debonair and charming, and then he's just slapstick hilarious.
Yeah.
He is talking to himself on the stairs. He's mugging for the camera. He is an actor that I think he is a character actor trapped in a leading man body. Like, he is such a good actor and can do anything, and he's very versatile, but he's gorgeous, and so they gave him all the leading man parts. I could not see anyone who is a contemporary to him doing this part other than him. There's a couple of folks, my sister, shout out to Kathy, has always said that Pierce Brosnan during his Remington Steele days, with the comedy and he was gorgeous and he was funny, and she would have loved to have seen him do this part. And I would say also a much younger George Clooney, who's very mugging to the camera, Ocean's 11 days. I could see that maybe too.
Yeah, I could see George doing it in particular because the range that he's done, like, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? He's constantly mugging, and
Yep.
that is very Cary Grant-esque performance throughout that entire film, so I could totally see that.
Exactly. What do you have to say about Mr. Cary Grant? Mr. Archibald Leach?
I think you hit all the right points, and you're probably going to think I'm crazy by saying this, but another person that I can envision in this role nowadays would be Jude Law.
Interesting.
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Mhm.
I can see that because he does have that both charming, like the holiday charming piece to him, and he's a good actor. Yeah. Okay. I like that.
I've seen Cary Grant in a bunch of films. Again, I've never seen him in this one. And this is, you're correct, a very different role for him because it is, while it is dramatic acting, it's dramatic comedic acting,
Mhm.
which he'd never really done fully before. Like, His Girl Friday kind of touches on that a little bit, like that quick talking kind of thing, which he totally 100% is. He's still that quick talker in this film.
Mhm.
But I've never seen him go to such an extreme. You're correct. He mugs to the camera at particular points in time. He's constantly talking to himself and narrating the action of what is happening, what that you cannot see off to the side, which I thought was a clever choice to actually do, to have him narrate the fight scenes that are happening. And he's so incredibly funny while really not doing all that much.
Right. Have you guys seen Bringing Up Baby?
Yes.
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 years
So
ago.
if you want to see him acting in this way, Bringing Up Baby is another really good example too.
Okay.
It's not as straight man as His Girl Friday. So I would give that a try. So the supporting characters who, let's talk the aunts for a moment because they are just the sweetest things ever. They're cute, and they are so righteous in their beliefs that I just love them, and they're not afraid to tell anybody what
No,
they're doing.
they tell everybody.
Exactly. I thought Teddy Roosevelt was hilarious, and a couple of times when he did the charge or blew the bugle, even though I knew it was coming, it startled me.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you
So
guys.
loud.
It's so loud and jarring. The cops were great, and I also think that Peter Lorre being the most Peter Lorre he could ever be, the little Dr. Einstein was fantastic, and Jonathan was great. In a later televised play version of this, they did, and I forget who was the stars of it, Boris Karloff played the role of Jonathan.
Oh,
And so I would actually love to get my hands on that, because that would be fantastic. But how about the supporting folks? What do you think?
Interesting because, and I have just rewatched this movie within the last 5 days, and I've seen it several times, and I don't think that I've seen another movie where every person was just perfect for the part that they had.
yeah.
So many other movies, you're like, oh, this one, I don't know
Yeah.
if they could have done it as well, or someone else could have done it better, something like that. But every person just brought the piece right to the table, and I just thought it was excellent. From the aunts to, I think the character's name is Jack Carson, the one who's trying to explain his.
The cop?
Yes.
Yeah, the cop with the playwright.
Yeah.
With the,
Yeah.
I've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He's a character actor. Yeah.
But it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
Even the brother who comes back with a different face,
Mhm.
even though he's a very wooden kind of actor, he was perfectly cast in that role because he was supposed to be wooden and slightly
Yes.
sinister,
Yeah.
so he was able to pull that off. It was within his range, so he was perfectly cast.
Exactly.
Everybody was cast. The detective who is like really trying to solve this case so he could just get off his desk, and he's so determined.
But the
that-
one that comes in at the end, like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
inspector, yeah.
Mhm.
That works as well because if he didn't want to get it off his desk and he wasn't in such a rush just to tie up all the loose ends and move on, then he would have paid attention to the details or the fact that he's being told over and over by multiple people there are 13 dead bodies down in the basement. But he doesn't care about that, he just wants to move on. Like you are correct, everybody was perfectly cast in this particular movie.
Direction too. I want to talk about, like, there was so much done with light and dark and
Yeah.
the candles and the shadows. Like there's one part talking where Jonathan is talking and it's just his shadow and it's very imposing and scary. And also there's so much we did not see. We never saw the body in the window seat. We
Yep.
never saw the graves down in Panama, the poor yellow
Yellow
fever
fever.
victims. There's so much we didn't see and we didn't have to, and I think a lot of that is Frank Capra, who I just adore, and I think he's amazing.
There are also a lot of little details, like the running gag of the clock every time he slams the
Yeah.
door in the clock. And everybody is in on that particular gag. It happens 7, 8, 9 times in the movie, but almost everybody gets to go and touch and fix the clock or hold the clock waiting for the door to slam. Little details like that really do enrich and make a movie a better experience because there's all of this little depth and layer that you can get out of it as opposed to it just being straightforward. And you're right, Frank Kemper is notorious for having all sorts of detail
Yep.
and reoccurring things that come up throughout.
And in black and white to be able to do that with all the
Yeah.
shadows is amazing. So one of the characters we haven't actually talked about, because I think she's a little bit of a, just not as necessary but necessary to the plot, is Elaine. Do you want to kind of open up your thoughts on Elaine?
I do think that she was necessary. That was the whole point of him getting to the house and
Yeah.
starting, the whole conversation of what was happening. I think it would have been good to have seen her a little bit more because there was such a big span of time where she wasn't around at all. She was at the very beginning and she was at the very end, and I felt like she should have been, especially when you had a cab outside waiting for you.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think she did a good job. She was very cute for the movie. I just felt she should have been in there maybe a smidge more.
I
Like
agree.
a scene or two, like in the middle, couple scenes in the middle where she just pops in but gets instantly rushed back out
Yeah.
again, something like that.
Yeah.
I think, I can see that.
It would have helped, exactly. But I did like the way that she kind of understood him, like just even at the beginning when he said, I'm not marrying you, that's it, I'm not marrying you. And she's like, okay, Mortimer. It's like, well, but I'm not going to marry you. She's like, I understand. And then he's like, oh, fine, I'll marry you. So I liked her understanding him and dealing with
Yeah.
him and his crazy. So which was very cute. There were a couple of things I didn't love. A little casual racism in the beginning, which I didn't love. It was the 40s. We were in a war with Japan, so not great, but time frame. We're going to be able to pass because of the time frame and the whole I wish I understood what Brooklyn meant to this movie and to the play, because like at the beginning, starting with the Brooklyn Dodgers, and this is a story that took place in Brooklyn, and it was so very central to the play and to the movie. I think I just don't know why it was so central. Probably there's some context I'm missing, I guess is what I'm saying.
One of my favorite things that happened very early on in the film, when I kind of clued in, like, oh, okay, it's going to be this kind of film, was the opening titles and the narration,
Yeah.
where they're describing, and then over in Brooklyn, and then over here, and then the last one is like, and now you're on your own. I was
Yes.
like, that's clever.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
I liked that. I like that. So that's, I mean, just, I think it is a fun romp. I think it is great performances. I think it is, the first time you're seeing it, it's fully unexpected. And then when it is something that you know what's going to happen, you can look for the kind of hidden breadcrumbs to get you there. And Cary Grant just owns this movie, but he has a great supporting cast to buoy him and a great director. So I just love it. What are your kind of final thoughts on the movie?
I thought it was great. I did have a question for you. What did you think of the last little twist in the movie at the very end?
The last little, what am I missing? What last little
Which
twist?
little twist?
Oh, where he's not.
Oh, he's not a Bruce.
Oh,
He's
not a Brewster?
Yeah.
They kept building up Brewster, so that came as a little bit of a surprise to me, like, and then he's happy, because I'm assuming the entire time he's playing in his head with the fact that, well, all of my family is crazy, so because I'm a Brewster, I'm gonna be crazy, and that's the relief at the end, like, I'm not, so, okay, good, I'm not gonna go crazy. That was my takeaway, so it was fine. I thought it was a little over the top, and I don't even know if it was necessary, but it was fine and it worked.
See, I thought it was necessary because he broke up with Elaine because of it. Because he said, I can't marry you because we're all crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think without that twist, he would not have married Elaine. So
Okay.
I liked that. What
Yeah.
did you think about it, to
I
raise
thought-
the question?
I thought it was good.
I thought it was cute.
I thought it was a nice way to end it, where it's not like someone worrying that they're gonna end up at Happy Dale
Yes.
with
Yeah.
everyone else, so, yeah, it was good.
It sounds like a lovely place, though.
Yes,
Yes, will be very
yes,
happy there.
Yeah, they'll be very happy.
One of the things that I would like to point out about this is the writing and how snappy the dialogue is.
Yes.
And that's something that a lot of times movies can't really get right. Like, the dialogue might be there on paper, but the actors can't get that flow correct. And they were. Like, the first time Elaine is being ushered out of the house, there are lines that Cary Grant says that instantly contradict each other.
Yes.
And that flow works incredibly well. So I look forward to seeing this again, because it happens so fast and so often that a lot of those can kind of wash over you, so you don't get them all on just a single watch. So I'm looking forward to seeing it again, so I can pick up on a lot of those little lines that were done. And that's just testament to writing. The writing was excellent.
Yeah, I agree. And there were even a couple points in there where, like, for instance, when they were going to commit Teddy, they're like, oh, does he have to be a Teddy? We don't have any Napoleons
Yes.
right
Yeah.
now. Like, that was just super
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah, that was good.
Very,
There
very
was
fun.
one point in this movie where I did rewind and stopped and had to keep turning the volume up, because it's when he finds out his brother is also a killer, and now he's like, oh, he's like spiraling a little bit, talking to himself.
Yeah.
And I think he says something about all of this is like murder, it's a Murder Incorporated.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I thought of, because I think from that era, gangsters had,
It was
Oh,
a,
absolutely.
that
It was
was a,
Murder Incorporated was a Jewish hit squad.
Yes.
That was in, I don't know if they were in Brooklyn. They were definitely in New York City. I don't know if they were Brooklyn or not, but yes, you're absolutely right.
Oh, I missed that totally. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, so that is Arsenic and Old Lace, which I think we all recommend very highly.
Yes,
Yes.
100%.
So go
Particularly
check
if
it
you've
out.
never seen it, and we've probably spoiled the big surprise for you. That is kind of fun when you first, but still, if you've never seen it, go see it.
yes.
Absolutely. And go see it again, because you'll pick up on new things all the time.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Bye.